When I was young, and I assume when most of you were young too, your parents might have taught you the lesson that you must always wash your hands before you eat and after you play, because that's the best way to get rid of those pesky little germs that ruin our lives. I believed them, and probably so did you. But after scientists gained more knowledge about these germs, we found that some of them are actually friends rather than foes. There are trillions and trillions of these little guys called bacteria that live in and on our bodies in a complicated community that is called our microbiome. Scientists are beginning to realize the large role in which our microbiome affects our overall health. Of course, there are many species of bacteria that live in our stomachs that help with digestion, but what might not be so evident is how these gut bacteria can even affect our brain. Tons of time and money are going into research on this topic as it is a fairly recent field, especially in regard to the microbiome gut-brain axis. This axis is how your digestive system and your brain interact. The enteric nervous system, or the web of neurons in your digestive tract, communicates directly with your central nervous system through the vagus nerve. This works because the inside of your intestines are lined with a velvety layer of protrusions called villi. Each villus has a one-cell thick skin around it made up of epithelial cells. These cells line the surfaces in your body and help to pass messages to your body. There are different types of epithelial cells, but a special kind of cell called an enteroendocrine cell is connected to the vagus nerve, which is essentially an information superhighway to your brain. This means that the things going on in your stomach can directly affect the way you think or feel. And it also means that the things going on how you think and feel can affect the different kinds of bacteria that live in your stomach. Stress plays a large role in this system, as stress does strange things to the human body. On top of those villi that I talked about are two mucus layers that protect the epithelial lining from getting infected. One of these layers, the inside layer, has no bacteria in it, while the outer mucus layer does have bacteria in it. Scientists have found that these mucus layers begin to break down during times of stress, making us more susceptible to infection. Another impact has been seen in the laboratory with mice. Scientists have seen that stress also impacts the biodiversity of your microbiome, meaning that it affects what types of bacteria are present in your stomach. In studies with mice, stress induced by limiting water and food resulted in an increase in coliform bacteria like E. coli and a decrease in bacteria like lactobacilli. This may not seem like that big of a deal, but scientists also found that certain kinds of microbes can dramatically affect the levels of chemicals in your brain. They did this using germ-free mice and pathogen-specific mice, or mice that only have known bacteria in them. The germ-free mice were significantly more stressed while being restrained compared to the pathogen-specific mice. It was found that mice without a microbiome had decreased levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF for short, a chemical involved in learning, memory, and high-order thinking. This tipped off many other studies that showed that although these mice were more anxious during restraint, they were surprisingly less anxious about changing cages. It was also shown in a study from 2011 that the microbes from one mouse could influence the behavior of another after fecal transplant. For example, a more timid mouse would move around more and explore more if it was exposed to the microbes from an adventurous mouse. These changes were also consistent with the BDNF levels in the brain, indicating that the microbes directly affected brain chemistry. Although these studies have given us valuable insight into the relationship between the brain and the gut, these studies are difficult to translate to humans. These studies do, however, show that the microbiome does have an effect on the brain, and in the future, scientists will be looking deeper into the relationship between the gut and the brain to see if their discoveries can translate into medical treatments to enhance our mental health. Thank you so much for watching.